Hello, everyone, and welcome. If you want to say hello in the chat box, tell us where you're joining us from. We're going to get started in just a second. So hello to everyone. Letitia, if you go to the next slide. Welcome to our webinar today, our virtual resource fair. Your phone line is muted. This webinar is being recorded, and a link to the recording and slides will be made available later. Hello again, my name is Leslie Gavay-Swanston. I'm the Director of Program and Systems Quality at the National Summer Learning Association. So today we're going to have some presentations from a lot of presenters, but first I'm going to tell you a little bit about NSLA, then we'll have some time for some audience questions and then follow up with announcements. If you have a question for one of our panelists while we're speaking, please put it in the Q&A box. We'll try to catch it if it's in the chat box, but it's a little hard to see there. So please direct your questions to the Q&A box, and if you can make sure you're noting who your question is addressed to as well. So a little bit about NSLA. The National Summer Learning Association is the only national nonprofit exclusively focused on addressing the achievement and opportunity gaps by increasing access to summer learning opportunities. NSLA's goal is to increase nationwide the number of high-quality summer learning programs. To achieve this goal, NSLA recognizes and disseminates what works, offers expertise and support for programs and communities, and advocates for summer learning as a solution for equity and excellence in education. NSLA's work is driven by the belief that all children and youth deserve high-quality summer learning experiences that will help them succeed in college, career, and life. Core to our work is the recognition that high-quality summer learning programs work and have been shown to improve reading and math skills, school attachment, motivation, and relationships with adults and peers. We know that summer is a time of great inequity for young people, and we believe that promoting and supporting summer opportunities is a way to address this. This goes beyond the summer learning that's in our name. We also want to see programs and communities addressing access to other resources like meals and youth employment. Summer is a time of innovation and exploration. Without some of the constraints of the school year, kids are able to try different ways of learning and interact with other adults and peers that they might not otherwise. It's also a time of innovation for adults, whether that's opportunities for professional development, trying out new teaching methods, or exploring new partnerships. So now I'd like to introduce the first presenter, Ali Trentaso, Outreach and Training Manager for BOKS. Ali.
Hi, everyone. So I'm excited. Thank you guys so much for allowing me to present on here. I'm excited to tell you more about Build Our Kids' Success and our summer programming. So we can go to the next slide. And the next one. So BOKS is a free physical activity program. It's supported by the Reebok Foundation, and it's designed to get kids active and establish a lifelong commitment to health and fitness. Our goal is to get 1 million kids active by 2023. As you can see from the graphics at the bottom of the slide, this is our program footprint across the country. So we are well on our way. Next slide. We have a variety of program offerings. They are all 100% free. I'm probably going to say that 1,000 times, but we have our BOKS at Home in our summer program. This was designed in response to COVID-19. So these are downloadable resources to keep kids and families healthy and active while at home. We have our BOKS Bursts, which are short 1 to 10 minute physical activities created to keep kids active throughout the day, energizing their brains for learning. And our BOKS flagship programs, this is our traditional BOKS program. It's typically done before or after school. And we have a variety of curriculum offerings from early childhood all the way through high school. Next slide, please. Our BOKS summer program, our BOKS summer programming. So we are encouraging the kids to have fun and create their own BOKS adventure this summer. We all probably know and are aware that there's been a lot of virtual learning going on. So we really wanted them to have some flexibility with their teachers or their parents to design their own adventure and summer programming. So we are hoping that kids choose daily one way to get physically active, whether it's through our BOKS Burst or our BOKS Fitness class, one way to get creative with cooking a healthy meal or a craft, and one way to have fun outdoors with a BOKS game. So our program overall includes 2 calendar templates, so July and August, and I'll show you an example of one a little bit later, and 8 weeks of programming and games. So kids can plug and play our different activities into the calendar and really design their own adventure. So within the program, with the 8 weeks of programming, you'll have 25 BOKS bursts, so those brain break activities that I mentioned, 10 physical activity lesson plans, and I'll also show you a sample lesson plan as well, 10 BOKS games, which are fun for the whole family, and 8 healthy learning, so this is our cooking and nutrition component, and 8 creative crafts. Next slide. So our BOKS at Home, so this is where our summer program will live. It's a different landing page that we developed in response to COVID-19. It's on our website, and to date, we've had 17,000 downloads of our resources. So we know with the schools being closed and kids are stuck at home that they need to be healthy and active, and so do their families. Our resources have been translated into a couple different languages, and they include yoga and mindfulness activities, our BOKS games, our BOKS bursts, and social emotional learning bursts. So right now, with anxiety and stress at an all-time high, these are incredibly important. So I encourage you to definitely check those out. And our monthly fitness calendar, which is similar to the one that you'll see in the Summer Fun Pack, and it's actually on the next slide. So this is our June one. It was just launched yesterday. You can go to our website now and see it. The theme is a travel the world theme, trying to get some imaginations happening since we're all still home. So as you will see with this calendar, there's 3 different activities a day. We encourage folks to print it out, put it on their fridge, and allow kids to check off the activities they complete. And actually there's a certificate of completion at the end of the month that they can sign their name and get some recognition. But the Summer Fun Pack calendar will be similar to this one, except kids can plug and play whichever activities they like for each day. Next slide, please. This is an example of our BOKS bursts that I mentioned, so those short brain break activities. You'll get 25 of these within the Summer Fun Pack, but the red box is actually an example of a BOKS burst. If you are looking for more of these activities, you can sign up to receive our weekly newsletter. It comes every Sunday night, and teachers and parents love this because it contains 5 movement breaks that they can keep in their back pocket, and they can plug it into their schedules throughout the week whenever they need it. We at BOKS truly believe that active kids equal active minds. So if you plug and play these BOKS bursts, maybe before a tough subject or after lunch or whenever the kids just need to get the wiggles out, it'll help get their brains ready for learning. Next slide, please. So this is our flagship program. So again, this is our traditional program. It's run before or after, sometimes even during school. We have curriculum offerings from early childhood all the way through high school. They are all lesson plan based, so very turnkey, minimal equipment. The best part about this program in particular is that obviously when you're talking with early childhood ages 2 to 5, you're just introducing them to physical activity and movement and healthy eating. And then as they get older, each curricula gets a little bit more advanced, teaching them a functional fitness skill like a squat or a push-up, all the way through our high school program, which is our most advanced, where we partnered with Spartan Races to really get kids engaged in physical activity and get them to learn the skill that they need to be active and healthy into their adult lives. Next slide, please. This, I know it's tiny, but this is an example of our sample lesson plan. So you'll get 10 of these with our Summer Fun Pack. It's also included in our flagship curricula. So it really brings whoever what we call a lead trainer, the person running the BOKS class, through our curriculum. It has, drop off all the way through our cool down. It also tells you the equipment or materials you'll need, which are generally pretty minimal. The right box, the week 4 snacks where you see that's what we call our BOKS bit. It's in our cool down segment, but it's our nutrition component. So if you wanted to include that into your summer learnings, absolutely, you can supplement that in. And on the back side of this lesson plan, which you don't see, it has instructions for each activity in case you're not clear, but it's a great way to see what we have to offer and to keep things fun and exciting. Next slide, please. So how to get started. So you can head over to our boxkids.org site. I kid you not, everything is completely free. You can determine what you want to enroll in, but like I said, you can mix and match. You don't have to choose just one. Our summer program and our at-home landing page is up. We have our Box Burst newsletter, and we have our flagship program. You can choose all three. You can supplement different activities into each one, whatever keeps your kids healthy and active, and then you got to get moving. We encourage you to reach out to info@BoxKids. That's our colleague Heidi, or myself. We can direct you to any of the appropriate person on the Box team. We are lean but mighty, and we actually have a regional specialist for every state, so you'll have someone to go to if you have any questions. Next slide, please. Lastly, I'll do one last plug. I encourage you all also to follow us on social media, and the reason behind that is because we post general updates like new content when we release it, as well as little video clips and live workouts. So if a child that you are giving this information to or trying to teach isn't familiar with how to do a squat or a push-up, we generally have a video clip on teaching them how to do it and demonstrating it so then they can mimic it. And then if you are interested, you can subscribe to our Box Buzz, which is a quarterly newsletter about all of the things happening in the box world. Next slide. Thanks so much.
Great, thank you so much, Allie. So next we're going to hear from Joseph Moybon, co-founder of 220 Leadership. Joseph?
Thanks, Leslie. So we are a Chicago-based education technology company. I'm one of our co-founders, and we exist to create online courses that help students succeed in the real world. And so, next slide, please. And so our story is really all about intentionally creating opportunities that get students excited. And our programs focus on middle and high school students and really trying to shift the intention of education. There's some stats on the screen, and I think everyone has a story about how their education didn't set them up exactly for what they wanted to do after school. And we are helping students intentionally create a life that gets them excited and gets them out of bed every day so that they can be successful in the real world. Next slide, please. Next slide. And so the way that we do this is by creating online courses for students that put them in the driver's seat of what's possible for their future. And we're excited for this summer because we're making one of our online courses available for free to NSLA partners as well as to our 220 partners, which I'll talk about here in a second. Next slide, please. And so this is a student-facing online course. We call this the leadership course, and it is designed to help students simply discover their ability to lead by example. And the way that we do this is we help each student who goes through our program create a personalized plan for success based on their interests, based on their strengths, and based on their passions. And what that ends up doing is unlocking motivation, building confidence and intangible skills, and what we call the science of achievement, really helping students understand what are my goals, what are my long-term visions, and how can I make those things connected and make those a reality. So we call this the leadership course because it's all about helping students lead themselves and lead by example. Next slide. So a little bit more digging into the course, if you're thinking about using this for your summer program or potentially even in the fall, we have 9 different video-based modules, and each of those has an instructional video as well as different videos to help students go through their course workbook. There is an article, video, or different images within each of the modules to help students better understand what those concepts are. We have content retention quizzes as well as different recommended resources, and the community discussion feature is something that's pretty cool to follow. A lot of the students like to comment, and they can see other answers that students are posting on the platform, whether it's talking about their modern bucket list or the goals that they have or the different productivity routines and things that they're working towards. So this is all embedded in that course, and the next slide will have some different schedules. So if you're thinking about this, we like to have recommended schedules because it is kind of a new idea to start using these self-paced courses with students. And so the accelerated schedule is typically what we see working best for the summer, where you have 2 modules per week that students go through, make sure they're filling out their workbook. And then at the end, we like to have a program recap and debrief, which could be done on Zoom if you're holding your summer program virtually, or it could be done in person in small group cohorts or with one facilitator working with a small group. Next slide. Just a couple of the FAQs. Happy to answer other questions in the chat that pop up too. Target age group for this, like I mentioned, we normally do middle school and up. This is a self-paced online course, and so there is a need for students to understand how to self-monitor and walk themselves through the different courses. If you'd like to try it with younger students, we're definitely open to that and have had younger students participate in the course too. There are 9 modules. We recommend about an hour per module. Course duration is about 10 hours if you do that math. And then for evaluation purposes, this is always a big question. We have backend data that we can send you if you're interested in seeing how your students are progressing through the course. And we also use those individual student workbooks, which is a really good way to help monitor progress, get live updates, and make sure that students are going through and actually reflecting and doing the coursework through their workbook. And definitely understand that internet access and device access isn't always a given. And so what you can do if this content sounds interesting or you're trying to run a remote program this summer, the PDF workbook is printable. It's a PDF and has different prompts, so you can still run the program if you're able to print it and get it in the hands of your students. So definitely don't want to just make this limited for those students and families that have access to the internet. That's one way that you can make sure that everyone is getting access to the program. And last but not least, if you are interested, it's a pretty long link. So what you can do is you can just pull up your phone, the camera on your smartphone right now, and scan that QR code, and that'll take you directly to the link. But what I'll also do once I wrap is put that link in the chat so you can go directly there. And I'll also include my email address. And so if you have extra questions or you want to talk offline about it, happy to set up a call. But really appreciate the opportunity. Hope this is helpful for you as you think about your summer program, potentially laying this over or inserting this as a way to continue to build leadership skills in your students this summer. Thanks.
Great, thank you so much, Joseph. Just a reminder, if you have any questions for our presenters, please add them to the Q&A box so we can get those asked and answered a little bit later. Next, we're going to hear from Angelica Wortham, PD Specialist at iStation.
Good morning or good afternoon, depending on where you are. I've seen we've got people from California all the way to North Carolina, New Jersey. So hey, everybody. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about some of the resources that you have available for you during this summer that you can work with students, or parents can work with their kids at home. So we have all kinds of books and games and types of materials that are very engaging to the kids. The avatars are age appropriate for the kids, depending if they're in the younger age range of elementary school all the way up to middle school, which makes it kind of fun. So your kids are going to have iPractice. Teachers are going to have Teacher Station. They kind of work symbiotically together. The teacher will have access to projectable lessons and books, and then the kids can go into the iPractice part of it, pick their grade level, and then they'll be able to explore and choose, have their own ability to have their games come up that they want to, or access to books that they have either been exposed to during their lessons, or other books that might be open to them if their teacher has just kind of opened everything up and wants them to go ahead and have some free exploration, which is a lot of fun. The books do come in English and Spanish, and they are downloadable, they are printable, they can be printed in color, they can be printed in black and white. Kids can then color if they want to, which makes it kind of fun for them as well. The neat thing about our resources is that they are deeply embedded in the science and the social studies. So that will kind of help with some of that learning that is not taking place in a physical school building, but can continue while our students are at home, or when they get to go back to school, they can pick all of this back up, of course. And if you want to go to the next slide. So you can see that in the library, the kids are going to be able to pick from the beginning stages of a beginning reader who does not have a Lexile measure all the way up to that advanced reader, because we know that they start out at that learning to read, and then they're going to progress all the way up to continuing reading to learn and explore some of those fun areas. The neat thing with some of our books as well is that we haven't really been able to get out very much. Things are starting to open up, and we can take them to the desert, the Sonoran deserts. We can take them through the areas with water, which we don't have. I'm here in Texas, we don't have any water here, but they can go and explore around in the books and kind of get a nice experience and a nice feel for what's happening in the world outside around them. We do want to be sensitive to kids' social emotional learning needs right now, and a lot of our books will cover that. There's friends, there's pets, there's parents, there's exploring with others, there's the world around them, there's the moon you can see there in the biblioteca, because we do have the books in Spanish as well. There's lots that kids can go and explore, and then they can just have some fun. Our younger kids love to play around in our musical parts. They love to sing, they love to play some of those fun games that are engaging for them. There's vocabulary that they can play with and shoot and have targets at, so that's kind of gaming. And so we know that that's a lot of fun things for the kids to do. And like we said, you can download these books. They can be printed or they can be projected as well. And we want kids to know that their parents can also look at some of the additional resources that are available to them at home and see how they're kind of progressing. Teachers can see how they're progressing, but so can our parents. So they're not left out wondering, well, I don't know what they're doing. I don't know what they did. I don't know where we're going next. So parents do have the ability to get in there and kind of explore a little bit more. They don't have the limit. They don't have all the resources that our teachers have, but they do have some limited ones, which is still fun for them as well. Another thing that we have available, if you want to go to the next slide, is our oral reading fluency part. That link right there will kind of take you so you can see our avatar talking their way into how it all works. But it's got advanced speech technology, which is really great for our kids, and it's your collection of a running record. But teachers and parents, they can sit next to the kids. They can kind of listen to what they're doing. They can kind of make notes of some things. If the kids get stuck, they can just encourage them to keep on going. We have some kids when they're reading, they're so cute. If they've had exposure to something, they start singing certain parts of it. The baseball one is the one that comes to mind, and that's a lot of fun for me to listen to, and I think parents and teachers will have fun with that. They are grade level passages, which is great, and it's great for progress monitoring to see how our kids are doing. And so I encourage you to go look at that little YouTube slide or YouTube video that we have there so that you can kind of see how it all works. And it is a great way, like I said, to see how kids are progressing. We want to make sure that they can read with some fluency. And so it's a great way for us to be able to assess that. And I think there's a next slide. Yes, here you go. If you want some more information, I highly encourage you just to reach out to us. I know this is really fast and furious, but there are resources out there for you, and we would love to get more information to you. Just simply reach out and we will be in touch. So thank you so much for having us here today, and we appreciate your time and attention. Have a great one.
Great, thank you, Angelica. So next we're going to hear from Bethany Henderson, National Network President at America Scores. Bethany?
Good afternoon. Really glad to be with everyone here today. Letitia, if you go ahead and forward the slides, please. Awesome. So I'm Bethany Henderson. I'm the Network President of America Scores. And go ahead, I'll tell you a little bit about who America Scores is and what we do. So at America Scores, our mission is to inspire urban youth to lead healthy lives, be engaged students, and have the confidence and character to make a difference in the world. Please keep going, Letitia. You can see some of our stats here. Hit one more time, please. And you can see our range as well, and where we work in regular times around the country. So we provide free programming. So our regular programming is 100% free. We work through free after-school programs and summer camps with low-income children around the country. Next slide, please. Our impact of our programming is pretty broad. Our core program model combines soccer leagues, poetry, writing, and performance and service projects into a holistic mind, body, soul experience for kids. You can see some of the data for kids in our program. We've been around 25 years, and over that time, we've served about 130,000 children through our in-school and after-school programming. Next slide, please. For summer 2020, our focus has been to focus on these two North Stars. One, keep the kids we work with feeling safe, supported, connected, and hopeful. So the kids that we work with, for many of them, their Scores spaces are their safe space, their home base, their place where they can really let loose and be free. And we work with little kids, kindergarten through 8th graders primarily. We want to maintain those relationships with the kids during the summer and also reach kids where they are, however they can be reached. Next slide, please. So we have created distance learning activity portals in each of our various cities, and you can see the individual links to the portals here. And each of those activity portals have activities that each of the kids can do on their own time. They're printable, they're also doable online, so that kids can do it on their own time, on their own schedules, however they need to access them, or families can access them and pull one or all from all of the kids. Sorry, my own homeschool people are losing it today. Next slide, please.
She just started punching me in the back.
So, self-guided activity examples. Excuse me one moment. Self-guided activity examples like these, you can see the Scores at Home writing activity, a soccer activity. There's an online poetry quest as well that kids can work through, and all of them are accompanied with videos that are posted on our various YouTube and social media channels to allow kids and families to work through them. But we also have interactive summer camps. So we have 3 interactive summer camps coming through dcscores.org. Summer.dcscores.org. I apologize, it's one of those days in my house. Summer.dcscores.org is the URL. We have 3 separate summer camps that are interactive that are 100% free, and the first 2 are open to any child. So the June 1st through 19th are live mini challenges. We'll be online twice a week doing live sessions, challenging kids in writing, challenging kids in soccer. They can come back and see coaches, connect, and submit via social media platforms. The next set of 3 camps focus on specific grades, and they allow children to access regular daily activities. They come with a kit like other groups have talked about. That's an activity kit that's mailed home. There's weekly online interactive group sessions on Tuesdays, meet a role model Thursdays. And the idea is to help kids maintain that connection, have a consistent set of age-appropriate, developmentally appropriate activities that focus on sports and creative arts. And then we're also doing for kids who are already registered in our school year programs, specific writing workshops. All of our programming, go to the last slide, all of our programming is available. Like I said, it's free, it's online, it's accessible to any kid, and families can sign up to register for the summer programming at summer.dcscores.org. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Bethany. Next, we'll hear from Eduardo Caballero, co-founder and executive director of Camp EDMO. Eduardo? You might still be muted, Eduardo.
Sorry about that. And let's start the video. All right. Hi, everyone. My name is Eduardo, and I'm excited to tell you about Camp EDMO today. I'm going to start with a little history first. We've been around for 17 years. We're located in Northern California, or we were located in Northern California, and we were all set to serve about 10,000 kids this summer across 32 locations, primarily doing STEAM and social emotional learning camps. And on March 13th, when we got news that the last of our school districts here were closing, we realized that it was a very good chance that summer was not going to happen, at least not in the way that we had envisioned it, or any of us probably here on this call had envisioned it. So we gathered our team, and we gave them a design challenge of a lifetime, which is how do we turn our live in-person camp experience of STEAM and social emotional learning programs and turn it into the virtual world. And our team got together. In a week, we were able to put out a pilot. We sent it out free to our families. We had 500 families enroll, with 400 more on our wait list, and just test this model of doing a live interactive STEAM and social emotional learning focused camp. We're now in our 8th week of virtual camps. So in the virtual world, we're like veterans now. And we've learned a lot, and we continue to learn, and we continue to add to our programs. Now, when we designed these online camps, we put everything we did through 2 lenses. The first one is an equity lens. Second one is the social emotional learning lens. So anything that we teach at EDMO has to go through those 2 lenses to make it onto our platform. So I'll start with the equity lens. If any of you out there are doing summer camps yourselves, you probably know that financial model of, you have kids who pay for a program, and then you have like a sliding scale or financial aid application, and those families have to wait a few weeks or months to get approved. When we designed this new system, we said we can't use that old system. That doesn't work, especially with families who may be losing their jobs daily. We need to have a system that can serve everyone immediately. So we did something really old-fashioned and yet revolutionary for the times. We decided to go with an honor system pricing model. What that means is we are putting our live sessions out there for $15 an hour with a live instructor trained by us. And if you need help, if you need financial aid, right there on our website, right next to the price, there are honor codes for 50% off or 80% off if you need, which means a family can access our platform with live hands-on STEAM learning for as little as $3 an hour. We also design our curriculum to be equitable. So all of our activities, we have options every day for a kid can access our platform with as little as a smartphone. We can do, with a smartphone, we can do maker activities, we can do mindfulness, yoga, teach Spanish. I mean, we're teaching all sorts of things with as little as a smartphone. Now, if you're lucky enough to have a Mac or a PC, we've got tech programs for you as well. And if your district gave you a Chromebook or that's what you have at home, we also have tech programs available for those as well. So it's got to pass that equity lens. Boom, we're doing it. The social emotional learning part, that's the other part that's really important to us. So it doesn't matter whether you're learning Roblox or coding or art or Spanish. We frame everything around a social emotional learning framework that we developed in partnership with UC Berkeley Greater Good Science Center. This is the same folks who consulted with Pixar doing Inside Out, the movie Inside Out. So they helped us create this framework, and everything revolves around that. So if a child is doing a coding class, they're coding a story about responsibility, or a story about empathy, or if we're designing a city, we're working in concepts of problem solving and empathy and collaboration. These are all important words, and they're woven into all of our curriculum. We also have an hour that we call an Power Hour, where the project is not anything you're doing with your hands, the project is you. So we focus on how are you feeling, doing feeling talks, building emotional intelligence, kindness crafts, connecting kids to their community, connecting kids to their family through art, whether it's doing like a window sign for your community, or designing a curiosity ornament that makes someone curious as they walk by, and what are you going to tell them? So we have those in Power Hours. Now, I know I went kind of far. I'm not really good at slides. I'm more good at just talking to folks, but we do have some slides, so we can go to the next one. This will kind of give you an overview of what I just talked about. Yes, great. Then what makes EDMO unique? One thing I will say too, this is a turnkey model. So if you are a school district out there and you haven't figured out your summer plan, what you're going to do, all you have to do is send a link to our website, www.campedmo.org, and your families can sign up, and again, for any budget that they have. If you are interested in doing giving the program free to families, we are a 501c3 nonprofit. We can work with you to use your ACES funding. 21st century funding. We're working with 4 school districts and county here in California to provide this program free using federal and state funding. Otherwise, the honor system pricing model allows a child or any family of any budget to access this immediately. Great. We can go to the next slide. This is that EDMO method I was talking about. You can see what we've done, as most of you have gone into the world of social emotional learning, and there's just tons of stuff floating out there, right? Mindsets and grit and character and SEL skills and all this stuff. What we've done with it, with the help of some really smart folks over at UC Berkeley, is synthesize all this into a really simple method. Now, we do see our role now, especially with education being more collaborative than ever, right? That we're gonna have to do education for not just our kids around these topics, but also parents. And that's something else we're building out, because parents are now the primary educators in kids' lives. So they need to understand SEL skills and mindsets and character and understand that. So this framework allows us to do training with parents, staff, and kids so that we can all be speaking the same language. Really simple, easy to understand language around SEL skills. Okay, we can go to the next slide. Okay, so we actually have 3 offerings this summer, not just 1. So if you'd like to do a half-day or full-day camp, your kids can enroll for, we're on Pacific time, so as we grow, we will probably add more staff in other time zones, but right now, the staff we had were in the Pacific Coast time zone. So we have 9:30 to noon and 1 to 3:30 every day. These half-day and full-day camps, you can combine the 2 periods to make a full day. And they're designed to be balanced for the whole child. So the kids do 1 hour of enrichment, like the Roblox or STEAM or maker crafts, half an hour of indoor or outdoor recreation. So if you have a garden, something you can do the activities in the backyard, or if you don't, you can do them in your living room. Doing things like TikTok dance challenges, scavenger hunts, some kind of calisthenics with pillows. Like, you can do a lot of cool, fun stuff. And then half an hour of that kind of empower hour, that social emotional learning time. And then you work in some morning rallies. We have rallies just like camp with fun games. We have Pie Day Friday and all kinds of fun stuff for the rallies, and some snack, and you got a nice 2.5 hour experience. So that's something that a family can anchor their day around during the summer. Thank you. And the next one, we have drop-ins. So if you just have an hour here or there, you just need to take a meeting, you can sign up for an hour at a time and just do one of those enrichment activities. The benefit of the camp is you're with the same group of kids all week, so you're building those long-term relationships and also with the staff. Whereas the drop-in, it's like pick up basketball. Whoever shows up that day, that's who you're in there with. That also has its own fun and learning challenges when you're learning how to make relationships or friendships quickly. Next slide. Lastly, we have a coach program. So if you have kids who want one-on-one coaching, we have this one-on-one coaching program. Take a look at those. You scroll through that. We can teach anything from ukulele to Spanish to saxophone to graphic design, anything you can imagine. We have coaches who are there, can teach kids one-on-one. We will be building out that platform to also include volunteers in the next month or 2, so that we can actually offer this for free or very low cost to families. Right now it's $40 an hour, but that's because we have to pay our staff $25 an hour, and with payroll that's $30. So we don't give ourselves much margin there, but we will make this program more accessible by bringing in volunteers next month. I think, yeah, if you want to learn more, go to campedmo.org. You can see all these programs, and I would also encourage you to look for us on Facebook and Instagram. Follow us there. In fact, today we're going to have an exciting announcement. We have a collaboration that we will be announcing with some very talented chefs from around the country who will also be teaching kids live cooking classes through our platform. So check us out, campedmo.org.
Great, thank you, Eduardo. Just a reminder, if you have any questions for our panelists, our presenters, please post those into the Q&A box. Next, we'll hear from Britt Magnuson, Vice President of National Inventors Hall of Fame. Britt?
Good afternoon, everybody. Good morning to the West Coasters. Next slide, please. So I am really privileged to talk with you today to basically represent the National Inventors Hall of Fame. We're a nonprofit organization as well that has been providing new and inventive things for children for the past 30 years. Next slide, please. What I think is important to note as you've been listening to all of my esteemed colleagues and presenters is that we have served about 160 to 200,000 children every summer. And over those past 30 years, next slide, please, we have learned about what it takes for children to really be creative and innovative. So the differentiator that I'd like to explain about our foray into this blended learning environment is really based on what you see here on the screen. We haven't varied from that. We haven't pivoted from that because we know what it takes for an inductee to be in the National Inventors Hall of Fame are those hexagonal habits of mind. So what we have been able to develop that you may be interested in is this ability to not just rely on the virtual component, but also then use the benefits of that virtual learning platform and hands-on learning by, next slide please, sending materials, hands-on materials home to children along with the possibility of having some support online. So I know several of the panelists talked about an equity issue, and this is kind of our foray into understanding that we want to always lead with learning, and we need to have a balance in terms of what children are doing online as well as what they can actually do hands-on at home. What you're looking at is one of our programs. It's called Innovation Force. It's an entry-level program where children are getting a comic book. They're being inspired by the inductees of the National Inventors Hall of Fame. They're being provided with a cape. They make their own superhero costume and their sort of avatar of who they are as an inventor. And then there's actually a challenge that they have to do at home with hands-on learning to kind of rescue the slime from some people that are in the comic book. It's called the Hazardous Chemical Caper. That's one of the programs. And again, just to make sure we're clear that this is a combination of a virtual and a hands-on learning experience for children because it's sent directly to the home, but it doesn't need the virtual piece in order to work. So it can kind of go both ways. Next slide, please. I mentioned that that was our entry level. As some of you may know of us as Camp Invention. Camp Invention is our flagship program that we have done traditionally face-to-face. And so what we have been able to do this summer and now continuing on to the next summers as we go through is to be able to then take that whole next slide, please. Take that whole notion of what it's like to be an inventor face-to-face and collaborate and be able to use your hands to solve real-world problems. We've created our national program, which is this year it's called Elevate. Camp Invention has a new program every year. And we've created what we call Innovation Exploration Kits. Next slide, please. And what we wanted to just kind of share with you to see if that was of any interest to you in terms of that combination of sending materials home for children who may not have that support or may not have that connectivity, but we've taken each one of our 4 modules, and as you can see here in the photograph, provided all those materials along with Spanish in Spanish and in English student-led guides, so that depending on the support that's there, can be a wonderful parent-child activity, or it can be conducted by a child on its own, and then also have some access to coaching and some teacher influence if that is what is available in that particular home. So that's called Camp Invention Flight Lab. Here they get 2 Link robots and they actually take one apart and then they actually look at the other Link robot and see how that works. This second one comes in a box. So it comes in a big box on a child's front doorstep. And then this second one is called Champions. Here's where the children actually experience what it's like to build their own games. So there's lots of family involvement that can happen, but they use inventor trading cards, and they actually create their own champion sports arena with all the accoutrements that go in alongside that champions. Next slide, please. The third, again, this is all in the experience for that summer that can last the whole summer, or it can just be a week-long program, is Design Thinking Project. Purposeful was those hexagonal hexagons that I showed you at the beginning, because really what this is about is doing really clear invention education about how I can learn to invent my own life, not necessarily be an invent something. This is called Design Thinking Project. Here, children are actually prototyping an invention. They're learning about that your ideas have value, and other folks' ideas have value as well. There's an inventor's log, there's a portfolio, all of those kinds of things that really lend itself to that innovative mindset. And next slide, please. And if you could skip one more, because I think they might be out of order. Nope. So there's a rescue squad that didn't get included, but that's the fourth. Oh, there it is. There's a rescue squad. So that's the fourth of the 4 activities that are sent home in our Innovation Exploration Elevate series. That is there for you to just kind of see as well. That's an environmental bent, and the children actually figure out what it's going to take to follow, by following these instructions, to create, you know, parachutes, to airdrop some beavers that are needed to be resettled, to actually even looking at LED lights and creating an energy efficient LED plant. Next slide, please. Well, maybe go back. I mean, go the other way. There you go. So what we really want to just make sure that you understand is that we've kind of taken these 30 years of working with children in the creative innovation space and figured out a way to blend both not just screen time, but then also some hands-on things that they get at home. Everything that a child would need to be able to do those activities are provided. And if you do have, we'll put it in the chat box, and I know I've seen lots of things back and forth about how you can connect with us if you would like to learn more about our programs. So thank you very much. It was a pleasure speaking with all of you.
Great, thank you so much, Britt. Next, we'll hear from Kumara Thompson, Managing Director of Programs and Partnerships at Read to Lead. Kumara?
Yes, hi everyone. Thank you for taking the time to be here. I know that we have a hard stop at 2 o'clock, and actually I have to hop off at 1:55 as I'm doing a PD right after this virtual PD. So if you guys do have questions, please just pop them into the chat Q&A, and I will try to get to them while I am talking through this piece. Letitia, if you can go to the next slide. So let's just talk a little bit about Read to Lead. Read to Lead is a program created by Classroom Inc. And Classroom Inc. is a nonprofit organization headquartered in New York City, but we are national. We have partnerships all across the country. We help middle school youth and high needs communities develop literacy and leadership skills. We do this by creating digital literacy learning games and curricula set in the professional world, along with turnkey instructional resources. So that's what Read to Lead is. And then our educators are empowered to create student-centered learning environments where youth are in charge of their learning. And that's really important to us, to ensure that youth really engage and have empowerment over their learning in these roles of being the boss in these different virtual internships. Next slide. Okay, so what we call episodes are really a day of work. A day of work takes students around 30 minutes. Wouldn't it be great if our day of work was only 30 minutes long? But for students, it's 30 minutes. And in that day of work, they have the opportunity to improve their literacy skills. In that 30 minutes, they actually read 5,000 words. If they've completed an entire program, that is the equivalent of 2 middle school age books, and oftentimes students don't really know it. They're really engaged with the drama, the episodic decisions that they have to make, and the diversity of the characters that they deal with. But while they're there, they do improve their reading fluency. They have exposure to a variety of texts. They're going to do get greater vocabulary knowledge. And I think what's really interesting about the particular vocabulary that they're really working through in Read to Lead is that it's work specific. So during the regular school day, there's obviously lots of different types of vocabulary that students are exposed to, but specifically in Read to Lead, it is all career focused. And so a lot of the things that they're learning are workplace norms, the type of reading that you have to do in workplace culture, et cetera. And then they just have a broader knowledge of different things that they may not have thought about previously before. Letitia, next slide. In addition, they also have the ability to improve their life in career skills. Within that 30 minutes, they have 10 decisions that they have to make that really help them improve their decision-making skills around SEL and around P21 frameworks. They take initiative to manage and assess their own learning, but also they have to think about what kinds of problems they need to solve, how to manage their entire team. They collaborate and exercise leadership by delegating responsibilities to their teammates. They build social and cross-cultural skills by managing a diverse staff, and they think critically to identify solutions to problems. In those, and I should also talk about those 10 decisions, 2 of them are major. So oftentimes, and we're looking at vital signs right now, so I'll just talk a little bit about that. In vital signs, you're actually a licensed doctor and you run your community health clinic, for example. And then you have a major decision that has to be made. So that's often diagnosing a patient, but then the patient is usually diagnosed with something that causes you to think more broadly around societal issues or problems. So for example, on your first day of work in vital signs, you come in, someone has an asthma attack, you diagnose them with asthma, but then one of your staff members comes to you and says, hey, we've had a lot of folks from this particular part of town where our power plant has opened up, and all those folks are exhibiting symptoms of asthma. Is this an example of corporate irresponsibility? And so then you have to sort of decide, is that something that you want to tackle as the local community health clinic? So there are broader societal implications that students really can enjoy when they're doing the game. And I think that's one of what we call one of our secret sauces that students really enjoy, is this idea that it feels applicable to real life and to things that that they could potentially experience in their own lives. Next slide. Okay, so here is basically, I go in, I log in, and I am the boss, and I'm looking at my office. So this is my office. In my office, I have my to-do list. Again, this is vital signs. So this is Victoria, who actually just starts. So my first day of work is also her first day of work. And so one of the things I have to do is kind of onboard her. So there's a to-do list that I have to run through. And the way that I understand everything that's going on in the game is by reading through the program. Let me also just talk a little bit about how students can read through the program, especially if they are, if they have 504 accommodations, if they have IEPs, special needs, and or if they're English language learners. So we are connected to Google Translate API, so this game is translated into any language that Google has access to. So that's hundreds of languages. In addition, we have text to speech, so you can have all of the dialogue read aloud to you, and you can do that in either English or Spanish. Next slide. So we have always been a program that is online. We have always offered virtual support. That being said, obviously with COVID-19, we have ramped up what that virtual support really looks like. And so if you go to our website, which I put onto the chat, which is rtlgames.org, you can find all the ways that we can help support as you're thinking about different things that you can do virtually with students. So the best way to use Read to Lead, there are oftentimes, in addition to a lot of the game-based learning that students are doing, there are also wraparound lessons. And so for every time the student is in the game playing an episode, there's actually a prepare lesson, there's actually a post-discussion question lesson, there's some debate questions, there's project-based learning involved. And so you have access, once you get an account, you have access to all of that information, and so do the students. Everything is Google-fied, so you can automatically send it off to Google Classroom. But if you don't have Google Classroom as your learning management system, you can connect everything via Nearpod, Canvas. And for students who do not have access to any sort of technology, all of this lives online as PDFs that you can send home as kits, especially the project-based learning components. We are really helping families use their project-based learning as something they can do at home as a family. As a nonprofit organization, pre-coronavirus, during coronavirus, after this pandemic, we have always been free. So everything that I am talking about is free. So you can have unlimited educator accounts, unlimited student accounts, unlimited access to all of these resources. I know I'm at 1:55, so I'm going to stop right now before I talk anymore. But if you need to get in contact with me, ktompson@classroominc.org. Go to classroominc.org or rtlgames.org to learn more.
Thank you so much, Kumara. So we have one last presenter. And just a reminder, we're going to be right at the hour. So if you have any last questions, please put those in the Q&A box. Lastly, we'll hear from Diane Jones-Laurie, Senior Director of Brand Marketing at Common Sense. Diane?
Hi, everyone. I am pulling up the rear here, but it was such a fascinating day to hear about all of these amazing resources. So thank you so much for everyone who participated. And thank you to the National Summer Learning Association for putting together this great summer fair. I want to talk a little bit about what Common Sense has been doing in response to COVID, as well as opportunities for the summer. Next, please. A little bit about Common Sense. We're the nation's leading nonprofit organization dedicated to improving the lives of kids and families by providing the trustworthy information, education, and independent voice they need to thrive in the 21st century. Next, please. Many of you are probably familiar with Common Sense through our media platform. Common Sense Media rates, reviews, media and technology for parents so that they can make the decision of what is appropriate for their kids. We also have an education platform which has a world-class digital citizenship curriculum that is distributed for free in half of the schools in the United States. And we also have an advocacy platform that works primarily to ensure access and connectivity to families with the internet. Thank you, please. Next slide. So in response to the pandemic, Common Sense quickly developed a website called Wide Open School, which is an aggregation of many partners who came together and offered their resources for free. And Common Sense is the curator of these assets. The site is divided between parents and educators, and it allows people to go in age-based and choose activities and programs that can supplement education. As it relates to summer, next slide, please. I just kind of went through that. We'll go to the next slide. The resources that are available are across the gamut of typical academic resources, as well as art and music and activities that you can do with your kid, and activities that also really address some of the social emotional needs of kids. This is a very challenging time right now, and summer is going to be even more challenging with the reality of what parents have to deal with as well as kids. So the way that we're hoping to support parents and families is by being able to offer a variety of resources that are available to them. One of the greatest things about the Wide Open School website is the daily schedule. And during the summer, we are going to be addressing weekly activities. I guess I don't have much time since we're moving so quickly.
Go ahead, take your time.
Okay. Why don't we just move to the next slide? So the daily schedule is something that allows you to go in and create your day for you and your family. During the summer, it's going to be updated on a weekly basis and be more activity focused with themes. So throughout the weeks, it will be themes such as animals and plants, or magic and mysteries, or media making and music. So there will be themes that the summer will be focused around, and they'll be based, age-based and grade-based. Next slide, please. We are continuing with our Watch Now live events. So we're aggregating activities that are happening around the internet and around the world that allow parents and kids to participate in the moment in activities that are happening. So even if you haven't planned, you can go on and find something that is happening. Next slide, please. One of the things that we've heard a lot from the people that are currently using the site is that they want to be able to supplement not just the academic, but also the fun activities that are happening with families. So we're having a little bit of both on the site, and that will allow parents to have moments where kids are actually learning and moments when they are involving in social activities. Next slide, please. We have partnered with a variety of different providers that allow us to, one, get the message out, and two, and two, create really great content from organizations like Time for Kids, Sesame Workshop, Scholastic, National Geographic, as well as getting the word out through platforms like Google, Comcast, Salesforce. Next slide. For many parents, privacy is a concern. Wide Open School doesn't collect any user information or data, and is in compliance with COPPA and CCPA. However, different partners have their own privacy and data policies. So you'll need to make sure you check that as you go to their platforms. And then the next slide really just talks about access, which is really critical. Everything on Wide Open School is available and free. We are working really diligently to ensure access to technology and connectivity for the more than 12 million students that don't have that across the country. I think that is probably it for me. The next few slides show how you can connect with Common Sense. Actually, this slide speaks to a text messaging program that we have and available in English and Spanish, and how you can sign up for it. And then the next two slides show how you can connect with Common Sense to get more information, whether it is Common Sense Latino or Common Sense proper. That's it.
Okay, thank you, Diane. So we've been answering the questions that have been coming up in the Q&A box as we've been going along, and I don't see any additional ones. So instead of having a Q&A section right here, I would just encourage you to reach out to any of our presenters with additional questions you have as you have a chance to go through some of the materials that they've presented. We will be sharing a recording of this webinar and a link to the slides. So don't worry about having to copy down any web addresses or anything like that right now, but we will share those out later. So hopefully you'll heard some good information today and people that you can connect with. I just want to wish you good luck with planning this summer. I know it's going to be tricky, but you can do it. Just a couple little announcements I want to add as we wrap up. Look out for more on our Voices of Summer webinar series. So we have a few coming up. We have one later today on virtual learning, and a couple next week on family engagement, and one on guidelines for opening. So guidelines from the CDC, American Campus Association, things like that. So that should be very informative as well. And just also a reminder that our National Summer Learning Week is coming up in July 6th to the 11th. So we'll have lots of new resources. It's time to celebrate summer and summer learning. So we hope that you'll be able to join us for that. Finally, if you're not following us on social media, please do. That's the best place to hear new announcements about new resources, events that are coming up. You can also sign up for our newsletter on our webpage. And thank you again for joining us today. Have a great day. Bye.